the unspoken rules of attraction when it comes to the heart. We often operate under a series of invisible psychological laws that dictate exactly who we notice and why. Contrary to popular belief, men are frequently the more romantic gender in the early stages of a connection. Research shows that men are significantly more likely to experience the lightning bolt sensation of love at first sight compared to women, who often take a more gradual, evaluative approach. This instant spark isn't just random luck. It is usually driven by a powerful psychological phenomenon known as implicit egotism. Essentially, we are subconsciously designed to seek out a reflection of ourselves. We find ourselves magnetically drawn to people who mirror our specific habits, our peculiar quirks, and our personal preferences. When you meet someone who laughs at the same things you do or moves through the world with a similar rhythm, your brain signals a sense of safety and familiarity that we interpret as chemistry. However, you must understand that attraction is a double-edged sword that can cut deep if you don't handle it with intention. There is a dangerous trap many fall into: the belief that hiding your feelings will make them more manageable or keep you safe from rejection. In reality, the exact opposite happens. Psychology teaches us that the more you suppress your emotions for someone, the more emotional gravity those feelings gain. By trying to bury your interest, you're actually feeding it. Every day you stay silent, the roots of that attraction grow deeper and more complex, turning a simple crush into an all-consuming obsession. Hiding how you feel doesn't protect your heart. It only increases the stakes and makes the eventual outcome much more intense. If you want to maintain control over your own emotional life, you have to acknowledge the attraction rather than letting it fester in the dark. The social filter mastering your social environment requires a level of cold, hard honesty about how human dynamics actually work. One of the most important lessons you will ever learn is how to maintain a high-value presence by balancing kindness with ironclad boundaries. Being good-natured is a massive social asset, but without a filter, it becomes a liability. High-value individuals understand that kindness is a gift you give, not a debt you owe. The moment you allow people to mistake your politeness for permission to exploit you, you have lost your standing in the social hierarchy. You must be willing to be the nice guy who can still say no without hesitation. Being a doormat doesn't earn you respect. It only attracts people who are looking for someone to walk over. True strength is found in being a person of character who treats everyone with respect, but keeps a sharp eye on who is actually deserving of your time and energy. You also have to accept a brutal truth that many people spend their whole lives running away from. No matter how charismatic, helpful, or friendly you are, some people are simply committed to disliking you. It doesn't matter if you are perfect. Your mere presence might trigger their insecurities or remind them of their own failures. The mistake most people make is wasting precious mental energy trying to fix that person's opinion or win them over. You must realize that their hostility usually has nothing to do with you and everything to do with their own internal lack. When someone goes out of their way to speak poorly of you or tear you down, it is almost always a projection of their own self-dissatisfaction. They criticize your hustle, your personality, or your success because they have absolutely nothing positive to say about their own lives. Once you realize that their hate is actually a confession of their own weakness, you stop taking it personally and start focusing on the people who actually matter. Mental sovereignty and peace. True mental sovereignty begins with the realization that your mind is a sanctuary, and how you protect it determines the quality of your entire life. Your mental state isn't just a random occurrence. It is heavily influenced by the ritual of how you close your day. Most people spend their final hours scrolling through stressful news or distracting themselves with mindless content, which leaves the brain in a state of high alert. However, psychology shows that spending a full hour in deep, meaningful conversation with someone you care about acts as a powerful neurological reset. When you engage in genuine connection before bed, your body releases oxytocin and lowers cortisol, effectively flushing out the day's residual stress. This isn't just a nice habit, it's a strategic move to pave the way for peaceful, restorative sleep. By choosing connection over distraction, you are taking active control of your subconscious mind before it begins the overnight process of consolidating your emotions. This level of self-mastery is a core pillar of the growth mindset. Many people live in a state of perpetual anxiety because they believe that if they ignore a problem, it will eventually lose its power and disappear. This is a dangerous psychological illusion. In reality, hiding from your problems only gives them room to grow in the shadows of your mind. The only way to truly evolve and find lasting peace is to face conflict head on. Whether it is a difficult conversation you've been avoiding or a personal failure you haven't admitted to, addressing it directly is the only way to strip that problem of its weight. This principle applies heavily to your relationships as well. You have to let go of the toxic myth of perfection. A perfect relationship doesn't exist, and searching for one is a guaranteed path to loneliness. A truly successful partnership is simply defined by two people who have developed the grit and emotional discipline to refuse to give up when things get difficult. Real peace comes from knowing you can handle the storm, not from pretending the clouds aren't there. The secret of the golden years, we are often conditioned by society to fear the process of aging, viewing it as a slow decline of vitality and happiness. However, the psychological data tells a completely different and far more encouraging story. The idea of being older and wiser isn't just a comforting cliche, it is a measurable reality backed by solid research. A landmark study published in the Archives of Behavior reveals a fascinating trend. Older adults consistently report higher levels of mental health and emotional stability than younger people. While youth is often characterized by high stress levels, identity crises, and emotional volatility, the golden years often bring a sense of groundedness that younger generations struggle to achieve. As people age, they tend to develop a better emotional regulatory system, meaning they no longer let the small things ruin their day. They have seen enough of life to know what truly matters and what is just temporary noise. The takeaway here is that aging is not something to be dreaded, but a phase of life to be optimized through discipline and engagement. The secret to this improved well being lies in staying active, both physically and mentally. Older adults who remain engaged with their communities, pursue hobbies, and keep their bodies moving experience significantly lower stress levels and a much more robust sense of purpose. This proves that your later years can actually be your most fulfilling if you maintain a high standard for your lifestyle. The evidence is clear. Life doesn't just get longer as the years pass. For those who stay disciplined and keep their minds sharp, life actually gets better. You aren't just adding years to your life. You are adding quality, depth, and a level of peace that only comes from a lifetime of experience. When you see aging through this lens, you realize that the best version of yourself isn't necessarily in the past. It's something you are actively building toward right now. When you stop viewing time as an enemy that steals your youth and start seeing it as a tool that builds your character, your entire perspective on life shifts. You begin to realize that you aren't just stacking numbers or adding empty years to your calendar. You are stacking layers of quality, depth, and a specialized level of peace that a younger version of you simply couldn't comprehend. Think of it like a masterpiece being painted early on. The canvas is bright and full of energy, but it lacks the intricate details, the shadows, and the profound meaning that only come after hours of careful work. A lifetime of experience acts as your brush, allowing you to navigate the world with a calmness that comes from having seen it all before. You no longer get shaken by the small inconveniences or the temporary dramas that used to feel like the end of the world. This is the ultimate psychological payoff, the ability to remain centered while everything else is in chaos. This shift in mindset reveals a powerful truth that most people miss. The best version of yourself isn't some ghost living in your past. It wasn't the version of you that had more energy or fewer wrinkles. The peak version of who you are is something you are actively constructing in this very moment. Every hard lesson you've learned, every relationship you've navigated, and every challenge you've overcome has contributed to a mental wealth that you didn't possess 5 or 10 years ago. When you see aging through this lens, the fear of the future vanishes because you realize you are becoming more capable, more resilient, and more self-assured with every passing day. You are moving toward a version of yourself that is wise, grounded, and truly free from the need for external validation. You aren't declining, you're ascending into a higher level of mastery over your own mind and your own life. Every single day is an opportunity to refine that masterpiece, proving that your greatest days aren't behind you, They are the ones you are creating right now with the wisdom you fought so hard to earn.